We are what? We are who? We are what? Vibrant. We are who? 50 plus. Hi, welcome to Gray Lives on the Rise. I am your host, Professor Jamila Franklin, and we are coming to you from Oyende Enterprises, being sponsored by Jamila Sense, which is our product line of aromatherapy products that helps heal the mind, body, and soul. And we are bringing to you Alamaj's rebirthing program, as well as Jamila Sense and a host of wonderful programs that will help heal your body, heal your soul, and heal your mind. 50 plus people, we are here to stay. Gray Lives on the Rise. We are what? We are who? We are vibrant, and we are here to stay. Join us for our wonderful episodes. Thank you, and continue to look for our episodes weekly, being brought to you again from Oyende Enterprises and Jamila Sense. See you soon. Greetings, everyone. How are you? It is another episode of Gray Lives on the Rise. I am the host and founder, Professor Jamila Franklin, and today we have the lovely Darla, whom I'm going to introduce to you later on. And you see her pillow in the back? Gray Lives on the Rise pillow. So yes, this is a movement. I'll give you some information about the movement. This idea came to me like a download about a year and a half going on, almost 2 years ago as I was walking. I love walking. I'm an enthusiast when it comes to walking. So I said, you need to do something dealing with the 50 plus generation because there's nothing out there that deals with that demographic. And I thought about it and I said, that's true. So then the download gave me all this information about how to do it, how to lay it out, and all of that. So I said, okay, you should have a name. And I thought about it. I said, Gray Lives Matter. I said, no, they didn't resonate with me. Then I said, Gray Lives on the Rise. I like that. I said, okay. Because we're on the rise, we're on the ascent. We're not going down. And I said, okay. And then we have to relinquish the adjectives that are used to describe us because we're not old, we're not elderly, we're not seniors, we're not aged, none of those things. We are seasoned, mature, vibrant, healthy, and just, full of life. And I said, okay. Then merchandise, because the download was giving me information that if you don't have a brand, it's something that people can relate to or point to, they will forget who you are and your movement. And this is a movement that is not going to be forgotten. So I said, okay. So we have this wonderful shop where we have t-shirts, sweatshirts, cosmetic bags, pillows. We have everything in the shop. And so I'll give you more information about that a little later. And then I said, okay, we need to have a podcast. The podcast is dedicated to people who are 50 plus globally, because people who are 50 plus, I found out, are being ignored, not just in the state where I am, which is Georgia, not nationally in the US, but globally. Am I talking to people around the world that are experiencing the same disrespect? So I said, oh, okay, why don't we have a podcast that addresses our needs, that speaks to the people that we know, and we support each other's businesses, because we can support each other. We don't need to constantly be disrespected when you go to the doctor's office or wherever you may go, because sometimes they talk to you as if you're hard of hearing. And we're very astute. We're not hard of hearing. We're very wise. And they talk to you as if you are an imbecile. I said, that's so disrespectful. And the interesting thing is the people who are the ageist, who are 40 and younger, work in these corporations that are owned by us. The people who own the corporations are 50 plus, and they employ these people who are sex, well, not, well, some are sexist, but who are ageist. So I said, okay, if we buy from each other, if we support each other, we don't need them. And in this country, money talks. So when they see the money dribbling away from them, attitudes tend to change. That's the way it is. So that's the foundation of Great Lives on the Rise. And I am a certified Reiki master, a college professor of psychology. I've had my own clinical practice for over 30 years. And the specialty that I am now doing is healing ancestral trauma. A lot of people are having issues due to ancestral trauma, and they're not aware of it. So that's what I work on, having them see that some of the things that they're experiencing don't even belong to them. Some people are like, well, I don't know why I said that. I don't know why I feel like this. And then when I start working with them, we can see that it doesn't even belong to them. It belongs to some great grandmother years ago. So that's part of what I do. And I'm very involved in energy. Anything that deals with energy, it's me. And I'm a certified aromatherapist, and I'm an award-winning author. So, and I do some other things too, but it's not about me. It's about Great Lives on the Rise in Darla. And the company, one of my companies, I have several companies, but one of my companies that's underwriting this wonderful program is my aromatherapy company, which is Jamila Sense. And my number one product is Peace Be Still. And all of my products are created by me, and they are natural, and they're amazing. You see how clear this is? You just add 3 drops. And like I said, I make all of my blends, all of my products. And my products are therapeutic grade. They're not perfumes. People ask me, do you make incense or soap? I said, no, I don't. Everything I do is connected to relieving stress from the body. So my products are therapeutic grade. So what you do is you put the 3 drops in your hand, and you breathe in. When you meditate, I use it all the time when I meditate. When you take a bath, you can put it in your bath water, and you put it in your hands and breathe in 10 times. You take the rest and put it on your arms. And flies and mosquitoes will not come near you. Okay, wonderful. I love it. So go to my website to find out more about Great Lives on the Rise and about Oyende Enterprises, which is the parent company that Great Lives on the Rise is under. So it's spelled Oyinde Enterprises, ENTERPRISES.com. Oyende Enterprises, and you will find Jamila Sense, my aromatherapy product, and Great Lives on the Rise, plus my institute. I have an institute, a holistic institute, to teach people metaphysics and some other courses, right? And it has my healing ancestral trauma information on there as well. So I look forward to hearing from you. Okay.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. So today we have Darla, and Darla is a certified somatic trauma-informed coach, relationship expert, speaker, and podcaster with lived experience in overcoming narcissistic abuse. We really need that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Her own healing journey from trauma and toxic relationships has fueled her passion for helping women reclaim their power and find fulfillment in their lives and relationships. By focusing on the nervous system, Darla guides clients to process past trauma, rebuild self-worth, and embrace their personal strength. Thank you, Darla, for joining us today. We are so happy to see you, and everything that you are very well known for are things that are near and dear to my heart. And until the past 5 years at the most, people didn't really have a label for narcissism. They just say, okay, this person is just full of himself or herself, self-absorbed. That's what we used to say. We didn't have a label for it, but now, we have a name for it. So, oh, that's why he was acting the way he was. That's why she was doing what she was doing. Narcissism. And let's just go back to your early beginnings to see what led you to this path that you're on now. So what was young Darla like in growing up?
Yeah, a lot different than I am today, for sure.
Mhm.
I grew up in a pretty dysfunctional home, and so
Mm,
I was sent these false narratives that I didn't matter, I didn't have a voice, I deserved whatever punishment I got. And so those messages transferred into my relationships, my friendships. And so because I didn't have that father-daughter relationship that was healthy and that void was there, I sought out that validation from other people, in particular male relationships. You know,
mhm.
when my romantic, that I didn't feel whole and complete unless they validated me. And so
Yeah.
that well, not all of my partners or husbands have been narcissists. All of them have had one common denominator, and that's emotionally unavailable. And so
Mm,
right? All of it, no matter what label we put on it. Yes, I've had three narcissists. One of them I was married to. All of them have had that commonality. And
mm,
what I really discovered, like my healing journey began 13 years ago or 12 year no 2013, so 11 years ago, when I was going through the divorce from my narcissist. But it definitely has had stages, and this past year, that biggest stage, and particularly the past 2 to 3 months, there's been this huge acceleration. Last year was about really getting in touch with who I am, like knowing who I am and
mm,
seeking internal validation, not from others. And
mhm,
then after going through a breakup in November that was really difficult initially, it totally shifted me in so many ways, changed my
mm,
personality.
mhm,
And I realized I know so much about my past and my current experiences and how they relate, that there's so much value. If I look at who I was 10 years ago, what would I needed to hear? What did I
mm,
need to know?
mhm, mhm. I think that's really good because a lot of times people tend not to be introspective. And that's what you were doing, going back and checking yourself and saying, okay, let me see how I've grown and let me see how I attracted certain kinds of behaviors to me based on what I was feeling about myself. Because quite a few of us have come from uh, childhoods that were not ideal. And our parents did
Yeah.
the best that they could because they came from troubled parents. Very few people can talk about how the parents were both available and loving to them, especially men back in the day, because men were not taught to be emotionally available to their children, to their wives, or to themselves. It's just like, can you feel something? Just suck it up. Be a man about it. You don't cry.
Yes.
You don't cry. And so that makes you emotionally unavailable. And then for
Mhm.
a girl looking at her father, you're going to choose someone like that because that's the model that you've seen in growing up unconsciously. Yeah.
Yeah, and you talk about generational trauma, and I'm not
Mm,
excusing my behavior of my mother or my father, but if you look at that, and part of my certification was actually mapping that out, all the generational trauma on both sides. It was really enlightening to me because
mm,
my mother came from a very abusive mother who was very emotionally unavailable and strict and not warm and loving. So of course she sought out my dad, who was the same way. But my
mm.
father also came from an alcoholic father who was physically abusive. And so you have these two incomplete people come together. And
Yeah.
and of course they did the best they could with what they had,
Mm,
but they didn't realize that that generational trauma was being passed down.
right. Right. That's true. And then, when we were growing up, parents were not taught to be introspective. It's like children are kind of like appendages to their parents. You matter very minimally. You're there
Hmm.
to do the chores, you're there to do their bidding, you're there
Hmm.
basically be an extension of them, but you don't really have a life independently of them. So you don't have a voice. You know, when I was growing up, the common cliche was children are to be seen and not heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, a common statement. So you didn't have a voice to express how you really felt and not deal with
No.
the repercussions of it. If you talk, I don't like that. I don't like what you said. You paid the price for that. Because
Well, and
freedom
even,
of
yeah.
expression, yeah, freedom of expression was not welcomed. Yeah.
And even when I did express myself, because my father was sexually abusive, and when I told my mother about that, she of course confronted him, but of course he's not gonna be like, yeah, I did that. He denied it. And so she called me a liar, and part of
Mm.
so it was really dysfunctional. I wanted my parents to get divorced. That's not a normal thought pattern in a child. Normally, they don't want that. I did, but so her comeback was, "Your father denied it. I don't believe you, and you said you would do anything to break us up." And I'm like, yes, I do want you to break up, but I'm telling you the truth. I'm not telling you this to break you up. I'm telling you because it's the truth and I want you to do something. So yeah, there was even that, even when I expressed myself, it was not validated.
Did you have siblings with the other children?
Yes. So there's a story behind that too. I have two siblings as well. I have a brother and I have a sister. I'm the oldest of three. And I don't stay in contact with my sister anymore. There's a strong no contact lifetime rule on that. And when I am at family events, I've only been to one in 10 years, thank God. I held that boundary and I just took the high road. I just politely left the room every time she tried to engage me. And that's been difficult, but it's also been about preserving my peace.
Oh,
So,
okay. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And we have to,
yeah.
because as women, we're taught to do self-sacrifice to keep the
Hmm.
peace, especially if you're the older of the group.
Yeah.
And so you're supposed to turn the other cheek and pretend like what you see happening isn't happening, and put on this facade, and we're going to all smile and be polite, and then you're seething underneath. There's a volcano about to explode
Hmm.
underneath. And so I'm glad that you knew that you have to set boundaries between you and your sister. And just because she's your
Hmm.
blood, blood sister doesn't mean that she needs to have a front row seat
Right.
in your audience. A lot of people
Right.
do that with siblings, especially if they're close to them in age. No matter how dysfunctional it is, they try to deny that it's dysfunctional.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I used to be a lot like her. I mean, I'm
mm,
the one who's changed. I'm the one who's changed. I used to be a lot like her, very angry. It's always everybody else's fault. You know, and when I got away from those types of behaviors, just couldn't be around them anymore.
yeah, yeah. And you have a brother as well?
I do, and I am in contact with him. And, we were estranged for a while. There was something that happened when I was going through my divorce with my narcissist, but I feel like that bridge could be rebuilt with him. I felt there were different dynamics going on. So I'm actually really happy that I've been using music as the bridge. So both of us are musicians. And so 2 or 3 years ago, I dipped my toe in the water a little bit just to see what he would do. And I reached out because I've been watching his videos of his gigs. And that has been a bridge. And I actually saw him this past summer when I went back to the East Coast to visit, and we actually got to sing together. So I'm really hoping that that relationship continues to build because that's really important to me. But
Oh,
if he crosses a line, if anyone crosses a line, quite frankly, and it's really a big one, and I'm not saying that I'm not, so I want to clarify. The decisions I'm making, I'm not saying everyone should make those decisions. And I'm not
mhm.
saying every person who crosses a line is going to get the boot. I take it on a case by case basis, and I think everyone else just needs to make their own decisions as well. So I like to clarify that. I'm not saying across the board, get rid of everyone.
Yeah,
These are really tough decisions that I only reserve in the most dire of cases.
Yeah, and you have to also know that it's okay to set those boundaries, and people don't have to agree with what the reason for your setting them,
Right.
and the fact that you did. When it's your family, you should definitely always be available to know blood can kill you. And like blood is thicker than water. Yeah, but blood can kill you too. So
Hmm.
yeah, well, thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that. And so with somatic trauma, what is that? What does that entail?
Yes. So somatics is our body and our nervous system. So when we
Mm,
do have a traumatic experience, our mind and our body records it. Our mind can let go of it a heck of a lot faster than the body can. And so
yeah.
what happens, yeah, it's like a needle in the record is how I try to describe it. And until we actually go back to that moment, sit in that discomfort, feel the actual physical sensations. It's a physical sensation. So what
Mm-hmm,
happens in a session when I have a lady in front of me is we're going to talk about, okay, what's our topic for today?
mm-hmm,
How are you feeling right now? And then we're
mm-hmm,
going to connect that. Where are you
mm-hmm,
feeling it in your body? Let's say
mm-hmm.
for an example, often when we feel like we don't have a voice, our throat will feel really tight, tickle
Exactly.
a little bit. I had this happen the other day in a mastermind I was in. And so I'll go, okay, tell me about a past experience when you felt like that, when your body had that same sensation. Because there's
Mm-hmm,
usually a connection to our current behavior to a past experience.
mm-hmm.
And so we sit with that. First of all, I'm going to hold space for this woman because this is probably in some moments it's going to get uncomfortable. The reason it's been pushed down is because it's hard to deal with it. We
Yeah,
don't we
yeah.
we don't want to think about the bad stuff. And then there's that toxic positivity where it's okay at some points to let that bubble up, let that emotion come up. Because what
Yeah.
I found in my own experiences is that if we sit with that extreme discomfort after a few minutes, it will actually start to dissipate.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It will.
if you shake a bottle of Coke and if you just open the bottle, it flies out. But if you open it a little bit at a time, then you can open it up and everything's fine. And I feel like our emotions are the same way. Let them come up a little bit at a time, sit with that. And then we're
Mm-hmm.
also going to talk about, okay, I like to ask questions. That's how I've been trained. Not to tell people what to do, but we're going to start exploring and I'm going to start asking questions. Okay, how does that feel like? How do you want it to feel like moving forward? How do you think we can work through this? How do you think we can do this differently? And because
Mm-hmm.
when we have our own aha moments, we
Yeah.
create them, that neuro pathway is much stronger and it's going to stick.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the neurotransmitters, what happens is the synapses in our brain, everything tends to shift. And that's the field of neuroplasticity that a lot of
Yes.
people are venturing into, because a new thought is going to create new synapses to send different kinds of impulses throughout the brain, and it reshapes the brain. People think that, well, this is the way I was born. I'm going to die this way. You don't have to. You do not have
No.
to. Every time you do something different, and I love the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, who talks about this. Every time you do
Yes.
something different, it 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 rewires the brain. And so when you keep doing that, it no longer goes to default. It's forced to do something that's different. And feeling in the body, I think, is really, really important, because the body will talk to you. We can sublimate what we're feeling, but it comes through in the body. I know people who are disconnected. I have a client
Yes.
uh, that's really disconnected from her emotions. We're working on this. I mean, she's so disconnected, but she's making great progress. So I have to ask her, what is she feeling in her, what is she experiencing in her body and in her mind, to help her make the connection to the emotion. Because that's a challenge for her. But yeah,
Yes.
somatic, but how's the body responding to
How is it?
particular, yeah, how is it
And they're different
responding to,
levels. Good.
okay, but share those levels.
Yeah, when you talked about your client who it's really hard for her, we call it the traffic lights of tolerance. And that would be our red light.
Mm,
That's when we're in total shutdown. Like It is so, you see a lot of dismissive avoidance get like that if you're familiar with the attachment styles. Someone who was neglected in childhood, feelings and emotions are not to be expressed, they shut down. When you see someone get that deer in the headlights look, or when you get, this happened earlier, I'm having some technological issues and I'm trying to institute some new apps. And I got on a call and I'm tired. I just got home from a trip last night. I shut down. I literally said, I'm getting very overwhelmed right now. And I sat and took a breath and closed my eyes for a minute. I like my brain just went into shutdown.
Yeah,
So that's the red light. And
yeah,
that can be really difficult. Those are baby steps. When we need to move out of that, it's like just taking a baby step. Then there's that second level where I'm usually in. It's called the yellow light. That's where you're like in anxiety. Your body is actually like in fight or flight mode. And so I
yeah.
have discovered through this course that I've lived my entire life in the yellow light. That
Wow.
and it can cause health problems, adrenal fatigue,
Yeah,
cancer, heart disease, all of
yeah,
that constant. Our body was designed biologically, if there's a threat, a physical threat, to run. But
right.
our society now, or through abusive relationships, it's in that state all the time, and our bodies can't handle that.
Right. That's right. There's
Go-
no shut off button.
Yeah.
There's no shut off button. And so, like what Dr. Joe, the analogy he uses, which I like, he says like a deer, if a deer is out grazing and a lion comes up, the deer is going to get into the flight mode and run. And
Hmm.
then 20 minutes later, the deer is grazing again as if nothing had happened
Yes,
because
they
they're,
know.
and they don't stay in that energy of
Hmm.
fight or flight. They use it when it's necessary to give them the blood and the adrenal gland boost to run,
Hmm.
because that's not time to be intellectual when something's
No, no.
threatening your life. That's not the time. So he talks about that. But that's really good. So what led you to the field that you're in now? How, and
Hmm.
what preceded that?
It was it was actually being in a relationship and being married to a narcissist. And I was totally swept off my feet by this man. And this is very common of a narcissist. They're very
Hmm?
charming, usually very good looking. All these
Yeah.
women were around him, and oh, he quote unquote chose me. And so
Mhm.
he totally love bombed me. And, I was looking to be rescued because I didn't realize that I didn't need anybody to rescue me. I was my own, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I ended up marrying this man, and 10 years into the relationship, 6 years into the marriage, he asked for a divorce. And
Mm.
it was just a crazy series of events. And then he tried to back out of it a couple of days later. Thank God I
Really?
still had, yes. So that's what they do. They discard you and then they try to pull you back in. There was that
Mm.
shred of that little girl that had to defend herself, that stood up. And I don't even know, like, I was so beat down because with narcissistic abuse, a lot of times it's very subtle. I was with a covert
Yeah.
narcissist. They are
Yeah.
very subtle and they use digs without being really obvious. He would say things like, when you cut your hair short, I'm really not attracted to you. If you don't have long hair, I'm not attracted to you. Like,
Oh,
it's none
wow.
of your business how I have my hair, you know?
Wow. Manipulation. Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or they'll gaslight a lot. One of the things he used to do is
Mm.
he would move my keys. So I'm very organized most of the time, and I have very specific things for my keys, whatever. So I don't have to go looking for it. And I would go to leave for work and my keys would be missing. And I would get
Mm.
frantic because I'm late now. And I'm looking
Yeah.
and oh my God, I'm crazy. What the heck is going on? And when I would leave the room, he'd put the keys right back where I had put them in the first place. And then when I
Wow.
came back, it's crazy. And then I come back like, what the heck? And then he'd start in on me. Oh, see, you are so crazy. You are off. You are off. You have this and that. You have anger issues. And he would put it right back on me when he created the
Deflection.
situation.
Oh, yeah. They're good at deflection. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And having you constantly defend yourself and your position, because then
100%.
you're not dealing with the true issue. and they know how to do it. They are masters of deflection.
Yes. So
Wow.
when I got out of that relationship, I had a whole other can of beans there I had to deal with. I didn't realize I was trauma bonded. I had Stockholm syndrome. So even after I left, I was still in regular contact with him, but I was severely depressed. And the turning point for me was in 2013. I was sobbing on the floor in my apartment and I was so broken and I could not go on anymore. I was done. I was like, I was going to kill myself and I was thinking how to do
Oh,
it right. How do I get the
wow.
bullet in right? What's that?
Mm, wow.
It was a pivotal moment. And
And
that's when the moment of surrender came in. Go ahead. Do you had a question?
so, yeah, what type of intervention prevented you from doing that?
The only thing that stopped me, this this thought hit me that he's telling everybody I'm crazy, and I'm not crazy. I've broken, but I'm not crazy. And if
Hmm.
I do this, I'm giving him fuel, and I'm not
Yes,
here,
yes,
not here to defend myself.
yes, yes. And that's what they do. What they do is,
Yeah.
and they tend to isolate you too from family members and friends. They tend
Uh-huh.
to make you feel guilty if you don't make them the center of your world. And that's by design,
Mm-hmm.
because if they can have you do that and isolate you, then they don't have any competition. They don't have to hear you say, but this person said this about the situation that you were talking about. They don't have to contend with that. And they can be verbally abusive, physically abusive, sexually abusive, financially abusive,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't have anyone with whom you can confide, in whom you can confide. Wow.
All of
Mm.
that. All of that because he moved me across the country. Well, I wanted to go to Colorado. I had already always dreamed of going out west. He used that
Mhm.
desire to separate me. And so we moved to Boulder where we knew no one. And for several
Mhm.
months, we didn't branch out and have friends. It was just me and him. And that's, of course, when he accelerated. And then we got married in Colorado. He accelerated again, for sure. And he was always telling me that I was forbidden from telling anyone what was going on behind closed doors because he was a different person.
Oh,
He was
wow.
not that
Yeah.
nice, charming person that he showed
Yeah.
everybody else. He was horrible.
Yeah.
And yeah, there is that isolation for sure. And when I surrendered to my higher power and I just said, I can't live like this anymore, but I
Yeah.
can't, if I get off this floor, you better show me how, because I don't know what that how is. And that
Mhm.
is when the how showed up. A counselor came into my life and she pointed it out. Hey, this is abusive. This is not love. You've got to stay away from him. I actually got rid of a whole set of friends. I realized if I'm going to heal, I can only be around strong women who are going to help me with that, not someone drunk at the bar in their own
Yeah.
dysfunction, right?
Yeah.
Um, and it was this layering effect of getting involved in my spiritual center. I was a volunteer, so even though I was severely depressed and maybe I'd cried the whole night before and looked like crap, I was the supervisor. I had to be there to set up the coffee, to be there for the first time visitors at that spiritual center, and that obligation got me out of the bed. And then when the
Mm,
people there saw the condition of me, they came over and prayed for me, held space for me. And so that
mm,
was a saving grace for sure.
mhm. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. Having people of like minds who are supportive and genuinely supportive of you, not supportive in front of your face and then making disparaging remarks about you behind your back, but who truly desire the best for you, on all fronts. That's really good.
mhm.
So in terms of your clients who may be going through this, and, and most of your clients are females, correct?
Yeah, all of them are. I
Oh,
went back to just females. Yeah.
okay. Okay. And what's the age demographic?
I'm actually looking for women middle age women. And really, this is my goal. I want them to fall back in love with themselves so they can
Love that.
attract that dream partner, right? Whether they're in
I
a
love that.
relationship or not. Yeah, because we have to have that relationship with ourselves first that's healthy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we can't be healthy with other people. So my
Yeah.
demographic is middle age, 50s,
Mm-hmm.
60s, 70, I mean, that 40 to 40 beyond, say, age
Mm-hmm.
group that's either in a relationship or is in the dating world like me, but has, as my dating patterns have changed over this past year, I'm really getting good at it. I may be
Mm.
single in the moment, but I'm single for a reason because I had two short relationships last year and I realized within 2 months, which is quick, that I've
Mm.
never had a relationship but I always used to stay. So I'm looking for that woman who's either like, I don't know what's going on in my relationship, but I don't feel happy. I don't feel
Yeah.
satisfied.
Yeah.
Or that's in the dating world saying,
Yeah.
why? Why does this jerk keep showing up in different bodies? you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I think that's good when we know who we are. So when someone comes to us as a representative, because in the beginning, everybody's a representative. They're not sending the true person. The guy's going to suck in his tummy to look like he has a wannabe six pack. The woman is going to be all dressed up and dolled up. So you're
Mm-hmm.
sending your representative, not the true essence of who you are, because you desire to draw that person in and to um, have the person stay. So if you show up with a house coat and rollers in your hair, the guy will say, "Oh my God, what did I get myself into?" And if the guy shows up with the wife beater shirt, I didn't know what that was until about 2 years ago. But the little white t-shirts, I had no. What
Yep.
is that wife? I had no idea what that was. But show up with the like a white t-shirt and have that Jimmy Dean look, James
Mm-hmm.
Dean from
Yeah.
the 50s. Have that like that's a representative. That's not real. So to sit back and have us work on ourselves individually, and this is what I tell my clients, you need to be a whole cup. He needs to be a whole cup if you're in heterosexual relationship, to be in same-sex relationship. She needs to be a whole cup. But people come as half cups and they're asking for someone else to fill in their cup. And they get mad when it doesn't work. I said, it doesn't work like that.
Mm-mm.
You have to be full yourself or working on being full, and your partner has to be doing the same thing. So when you come together, there's not that codependency.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm so proud of you in terms of having survived the family dynamic that was not the best, being in a marriage with a person that was basically probably reflecting some of the characteristics of the men in your family, and you survived
Mm-hmm.
that. And so what I love when people go through these things, Darla, is you can bring your experiences to the client and the client can see you as being relatable. Because I feel that you're so relatable, so
Oh,
relatable.
good.
So
That's the goal.
yeah. So what's the typical session like with you? Is it talk and somatic therapy? Is it all somatic therapy? So
It's
what
it
would a client expect?
Yeah, so it's going to be an hour long and it's a little bit of both. We're going to talk it
Mhm.
first because I kind of, particularly if it's our first one, I want to get a feel for, what your challenges are, what your accomplishments are, what you want to work on. How do you feel now? How do you want to feel by the end of this hour? I always like to have some kind of goal. Now, the session could go just about anywhere after that. And that's the beauty of asking questions. And the challenge for me is because I have no idea where this is going after
Yeah.
we have that baseline talk. And but by just getting in touch with those present sensations, like I said before, where did that go before? And then just kind of talking about that, working through that. Basically, I'm doing for them what my current counselor does for me, is offering
Mm.
an objective outside perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe kind of planting some seeds. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Have you thought about it from this perspective? When let's use a common problem that drives me crazy and probably drives a lot of women crazy. When you're investing in a man and he's not reciprocating, how does that make you feel? Where are you
Mm-hmm.
feeling that in your body?
Mm-hmm.
Are you still there?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My screen did something funny. So anyway, how does that make you feel? And where are you feeling it in your body? Okay, your
Mm-hmm.
throat feels tight. Where did you feel like that? Oh, my throat felt tight when I was a kid, and my mom wouldn't let me say I don't want peas for dinner. I don't like peas, anything like that. Just an example.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you didn't feel heard. Well, this man isn't reciprocating. Have you thought about investing and then stepping back? And if he doesn't invest the same way, letting that be the way it is and just maybe dating other people, seeing what other people
Yeah.
do, and then wait until that man that matches your level of investment. Have you thought about maybe approaching it that way? You, s- so I'm
Mm-hmm.
not telling him, hey, this is what you need to do. Well, that's probably
Mm-hmm.
that would be my advice. I don't want to tell them. I want them to receive it, let it land, and make their own decisions. And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of the talk part, the somatics part too. We always want to ground in the beginning. We want to ground again when we leave, because I want them to leave in a good headspace, not triggered, and
Yeah.
particularly if they get really triggered. We want to make sure that they don't leave that way.
Mm-hmm. That's really good.
Hmm.
So do you do virtual sessions as well as in person?
All virtual. They're all on
Oh,
Zoom. Uh-huh.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's one that's one of the pluses of the pandemic. Before everything was in person. And now with because of the pandemic, we've become very creative. And a lot of people now
Hmm.
are doing things on Zoom, which is good because you're in Arizona. So if someone were in Massachusetts, the person
Yes.
could still experience all of your wonderful skills and expertise. So I think that's extremely good. It's
Yeah.
extremely good. So what is the most challenging situation that you've experienced in terms of your practice? And how did the person evolve in 1 hour?
I think the most challenging session I had was someone who had challenges with emotional eating. So
Mm,
while I have done that, I sometimes will eat when I'm bored, or I bounce back and forth, but I'm not consistently an emotional eater. It was something
mm,
that I hadn't had as much lived experience with. But how we work through the challenges is I kind of just went back to the basics. Let's talk about that. What's running through your mind and your body as you're eating a meal and you continue to eat that meal? And
mhm.
it, sure enough, it connected back to a childhood experience. And often, and this is our generational thing, finish your plate. But there were
Yeah,
other things going on. There was, it can be anywhere from a severe punishment because you didn't finish your plate. And now there's a repercussion. But then it's amazing how that one small moment in your childhood, because of the perspective of the parent, is bigger than that.
yeah,
It's big,
yeah,
right? And so then there's people pleasing. There's I'm not enough. If I'm a
yeah.
bad girl, if I don't finish my food.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. And making the parents happy. So they're kind of stuck in the 2-year-old syndrome. It's the parent and you choose your partner based on that dynamic.
Yes.
You have an authoritarian parent when you're two who doesn't allow you to go through the temper tantrums, and you have to stuff your feelings. So you become passive aggressive to, to
Hmm.
please to please
Yeah.
others, because if you express your true feelings, there are some repercussions with that, and they may be physical abuse. So you stuff and you go through life, like you say, but
Hmm.
very angry inside, because you're sending your representative so you can be liked. Yeah,
Right.
that's wonderful. So at the end of the session with that particular client, how does she leave?
with some aha moments. Yeah,
Mm,
she did. We only had a single session. I no longer do single sessions. I only do packages. What I found, and she did have that aha moments, but did she continue with that? Or did she just have kind of like when you go to a motivational seminar and you're like, yeah, I'm ready, I'm pumped up. And then you go home, you go back to your old habits. So
yeah,
yeah, she had the aha moment. Did she make some life changes? I don't know, which is why I no longer do single sessions. I do packages of sessions because I want to make sure that the client continues on that journey at their pace, of course. We all have different paces, but I
yeah.
want to make that it's for their benefit.
And that makes sense. It makes sense.
Mhm.
So when you say packages, and I want to get your contact information very soon because I don't want to run out of time. I want people to
Yeah.
explore a wonderful session with the amazing Darla. How many sessions, how many packages do you have? Do you have 3 sessions, 6 sessions? What is a package?
Currently on my website, it's changing all the time, but as of this recording, I'm doing 2 different packages. One is a 3 session package, the other is a 6 session package. And you can do that whether you want to do that weekly, monthly, it's totally up to you. You schedule each appointment separately. But yes, we're gonna, depending on what you decide, we'll go ahead. And what I will do in the very first session, not only are we going to decide what we want to work on in each session, I also want to get a bigger picture. What
Mhm.
what is it that you want to accomplish by the end of this package as well? But
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And if that's something this is really spoken to you and you're really like, yes, I want to work with you, you can go to my website. That's at highvaluewoman.info. And there is a page there. It's services, and you can click on that and book a session, book a package. No more single sessions. I got to get out of that habit. But yeah, absolutely.
But they can have a discovery call with you before.
Yes, those are
Uh-huh.
available. Have a 30-minute discovery call as well. And
Uh,
those are free.
that's wonderful. So, darling, let's give people your contact information.
hmm Yes, so they can either go to the website, highvaluewoman.info, or if you want to email me also, that's highvaluewoman7@gmail.com. On my website
Okay.
also,
Let's
yeah,
just stop here.
yeah, go ahead.
I always have people spell out everything because we're dealing
Yes,
with
no,
really
that's
good
a good
stuff.
idea. So,
Just spell it out.
hi. Hi is Highgh, V as in Victor,
Mhm.
ALUEWOMAN at 7@gmail.com.
Okay. So that's the website. And then do you have an Instagram page?
I do. I believe the handle is High Value Woman 7. All my links are on my webpage, so I actually don't know like in my head, but if you go to the .info site, all my I'm on Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. My podcast that I do is there as well, and that is also talking about relationships, but I also talk about my own experiences in trauma and narcissistic abuse too.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So I really like the title. I value woman. I like
Mhm.
that because you're planting the seed energetically in women's subconscious minds that you have value. Not only that you have value, but you're a high value woman. So they come into the session seeing themselves as being important, as being valuable, and working up to see their total, not to, to see their self-worth, because a lot of people, a lot of women don't really see it. They see themselves in the context of their roles as a mother, as a wife, as a daughter, a sister. That's how they define themselves. And you strip all that away, because I've done that with my clients. And I ask, well, who are you independent of those roles? And they would tell me, I really don't know. I really,
Yeah,
I
that
really don't know. And it's really sad, but high value woman. How did you come up with the title?
I really just kind of just listen to my intuition. I've heard a lot. So I'm not the type of high value woman of, oh, he should take you on a date in an expensive restaurant, those kind of, we have
Mm,
those.
yeah.
There was one lady I was following on Facebook and I don't remember her name. She talks a lot about being a queen and wearing your crown. Be a
Mm,
queen. And
yes.
so it kind of led from that queen concept to I've heard the term high value woman, and it just really resonated with me. And when I had my logo developed, it's of a woman leaning up like in victory, and it's
Mhm,
so personified what I wanted. But I think it
mhm.
is because when we value ourselves, things change in our lives. We
That's
relate
true.
differently, we attract
True.
differently.
That's true. That's so true. And it's an energy because we're emanating that. A lot of people tell that they go out and they try to force people to value them or to see them in a certain kind of way. And I tell them, I like the song that Michael Jackson did years ago, The Man in the Mirror. It's what you see on the outside of you, it's a reflection of what's on the inside of you. So when you're trying to change the image in the mirror, it's not going to change. It's just reflected back to you what it sees. So as you've said so eloquently, Darla, once people start valuing themselves, like how you grew to love yourself after having been in your family dynamic and the narcissistic relationship with your husband, you just started placing value in your life and you decided to help other women see themselves in a similar light, especially women who are 50 plus, because at this age, a lot of people are empty nesters. The children are
Mhm.
gone, they're thinking about retirement if they haven't retired, and they're like, well, I've lived all of my life for someone else. So who am I? Do I have any value? And working with you, Darla, I think is so important because a lot of these women are having pains in their chest and breast cancer and some other things. That's because they have lived all their lives for someone else and have shut off the feelings in their bodies. And working with you, you asking them, what are you experiencing in your body? And you're translating for them what those pains mean, what those aches mean. And I think that's so powerful. I love that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
I do too. And
yeah,
I learned too. I'll be honest, when I used to have a free support group, I got just as much out of it because I'm
yeah,
also healing. I'm still healing, always will be.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Your energy is so effervescent. It's just
Thank you.
exudes. No, it is. It exudes positivity. So people are drawn to that. They see
Hmm.
it, your outer appearance, your inner energy, all of that is drawing the wonderful clients that you have and that you're continuing to attract to you. So what would you like to leave with our audience?
Say that again.
What is the lasting statement that you would like to leave with the audience? What would you like our audience to know about Darla and
I
practice?
yeah, I would say that if you're really feeling unheard and misunderstood, particularly if you've had some women don't even know they've been abused by a narcissist. I would say if you're just feeling misunderstood and unheard, and sometimes, unfortunately, it can happen in the mental health community as well with mental health professionals. I would
Very
say,
true. That's very
this is what
true.
happened to me. This is what happened to me. I would say, reach out. Let's see if it's a good connection, if it's a good match for you.
Yeah, and I think that's so honest because sometimes it may not be a good fit. I've told some clients that,
Sometimes.
I I really love your energy, but I'm not the person for you.
Hmm.
And I care enough about you to have you get the person that's more in alignment with who you are. And that's so honest, Darla. It's so honest. Darla lives in Arizona now, so any people out in that area or around the world, this is a global movement. Great Lives on the Rise. I had someone that I interviewed recently from the Netherlands. I had people from Canada, from Serbia, from all over from, of course, from here. My goal is to have someone represent each continent and eventually each country. So if you live in Arizona, you don't have to live in Arizona because all of her sessions are virtual. But if you live in Arizona, you have a kindred spirit.
That's
in
right.
terms-
That's right.
yeah, especially in terms of the time zone. So everyone reach out and connect with Darla. We're going to have her information underneath so that you can contact her with all of her handles. And she's looking forward to connecting with you, beloveds. Like I'm looking forward to having you connect with her. So, Darla, thank you so much. And we wish you all of the best. You have such beautiful energy and such a wonderful level of integrity. And those are the people that we invite to be on the podcast
Mhm.
to help
Thank you.
others, to help 50 plus people go to the next levels. Especially, Darla is ideal for women who, like I said, are empty nesters and ones who are not. And you're redefining who you are, and you want to know who you are in this space of your life. Now that you have all those other things that kept you tied down, they no longer exist for you. So please get in touch with her. We look forward to hearing about the wonderful testimonials from all of you about Darla's amazing practice. So thank you. And
Thank you.
for everyone, what we would like you to do, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Great Lives on the Rise. Check, subscribe, check, liked, and we will then come into your box every Sunday. We have new episodes every Sunday, and each episode is very different, very invigorating, very educational. And go to our shop, Oyende Enterprises, Great Lives on the Rise. Yes, you see Darla's beautiful pillow in the back. She has a pillow in the back. So you get a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, a cosmetic bag, a mug, coffee mug. We have so many things. Go to the website, and you'll see Great Lives, and you'll see our shop, and you'll see some other companies that we own under Oyede Enterprises. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We so appreciate you. We so value you. And until next time, be well and namaste. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Gray Lives on the Rise, being brought to you by Jamila Scents, which is the product line of Oyende Enterprises. Jamila Scents is a 100% natural aromatherapy line that heals the mind, body, and soul. This episode of Gray Lives on the Rise was intended to uplift you, to inspire you, and to motivate you. Please tell all of your friends, family members, and anyone you know who's 50 plus, who's living a vibrant life and interested in doing more and enjoying life even to its fullest. So thank you, and please subscribe, like, and comment on this video and all our videos. Thank you, and until next time, until our next podcast, namaste and be well.